Celebrities aren't immune to reaping the consequences of their actions. In fact, there are quite a few stars who learned this lesson the hard way. In this video, we're going to be discussing 8 celebrities who nearly spent their lives in prison. Keep watching. Tim Allen. The 1970s were wild times. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll were the name of the game, and it seemed like pretty much everyone was playing. On October 2, 1978, Tim Allen was apprehended by law enforcement in the Kalamazoo Battle Creek International Airport for possessing over 650 grams of cocaine. He ended up pleading guilty to felony drug trafficking charges and gave the cops a list of names of other drug dealers in exchange for a lighter sentence. Rather than spending the rest of his life rotting behind bars, he ended up only getting hit with 3 to 7 years. Allen was paroled on June 12, 1981, after serving just 2 years and 4 months at the Federal Correctional Institution in Sandstone, Minnesota. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Factsverse, and stick around for a lot more celebrities who almost went to jail for life. David Carradine. David Carradine is an actor best known for his role as Kwai Chang Caine in the hit 1970s martial arts-themed TV series Kung Fu, although younger viewers might remember him as the title character of Bill in both of Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill films. Mr. Carradine has had more than his fair share of run-ins with law enforcement. Back in the 50s, while he was living in San Francisco, he was arrested for assaulting a police officer. After pleading guilty to the lesser charge of disturbing the peace, he was essentially let go with a slap on the wrist. When he was in the Army, he faced court-martial on multiple occasions for shoplifting, and in 1967 he was arrested for possession of marijuana. But all those crimes pale in comparison to what David did in 1974 that nearly got him locked away for life. He was riding the high of the fame he had attained from starring in Kung Fu when he was arrested on charges of burglary and malicious mischief. While he was high on peyote, Carradine began strolling around his Laurel Canyon neighborhood completely nude. He then forcibly entered a neighbor's house, smashing a window and cutting his arm in the process. After breaking into the home, he assaulted 2 women while reportedly asking one of them if she was a witch. He ended up pleading no contest and was given probation. While he was never slapped with assault charges, one of the young women he accosted sued him for $1.1 million, and she was awarded $20,000 for her pain and suffering. A few years later, in 1980, he was once again arrested for possession of marijuana while in South Africa shooting the film Safari 3000. While Carradine attempted to stake the claim he was framed by the apartheid government, he was still convicted and given a suspended sentence. Throughout the 80s, he was arrested twice for DUI, once in '84 and once in '89. In 1994, while he was in Toronto for the filming of Kung Fu: The Legend Continues, he was arrested once more for kicking in a door at Skydome while in attendance at a Rolling Stones show. Robert Mitchum. As an American actor, director, composer, singer, and poet, Robert Charles Derman Mitchum rose to fame starring in several iconic noir films. These included Out of the Past, River of No Return, Cape Fear, and Friends of Eddie Coyle. He also had a major role in the epic TV miniseries The Winds of War in 1983. He reprised his role as Captain Victor Pug Henry in the sequel miniseries War and Remembrance in 1988. When he was still a child, Mitchum was known to be a prankster who often got himself into fistfights and trouble. When he was 12, his mom sent him off to live with his grandparents in Felton, Delaware. Pretty much immediately after showing up, he was expelled from middle school for fighting with the principal. A year later, he moved in with his older sister Annette in New York's Hell's Kitchen neighborhood. After he was expelled from Harran High School in Manhattan, he abandoned his sister and traveled across the country living as a vagabond, hopping freight trains and picking up odd jobs along the way. When he was 14, he was arrested in Savannah, Georgia for vagrancy and put in a local chain gang. By his own account, he managed to escape and proceeded to make his way back to his family in Delaware. While he was recovering from injuries he sustained while in the chain gang, Mitchum met his future wife, Dorothy Spence, but he quickly hit the road once again and rode the rails all the way to California to begin his career in the entertainment industry. Robert Wagner. Best known for his roles in the TV series It Takes a Thief, Switch, and Heart to Heart, and in the films A Kiss Before Dying, The Towering Inferno, and the Concorde Airport 79, Wagner has enjoyed a career in show business that has spanned more than 7 decades. In 1956, when Robert was 26 years old, he met and became romantically entangled with 18-year-old actress Natalie Wood. They were married a year later in 1957. Just 4 years later, on June 20th, 1961, the couple announced their separation and finalized their divorce the next year. On November 29, 1981, however, some 20 years later, Natalie Wood drowned near the yacht Splendor while it was moored near Catalina Island. Robert Wagner and Christopher Walken were on board at the time of her death, and a man named Dennis Davern was the boat's captain. Wood's autopsy revealed she had bruises on her body and arms in addition to abrasions on her left cheek. While Wagner later acknowledged he had an argument with Wood before her disappearance, he has consistently denied responsibility for her demise. 2 witnesses on a nearby vessel stated they heard the distinct scream of a woman crying for help during the evening of Wood's death. LA County Coroner Thomas Noguchi initially ruled her death an accident caused by drowning and hypothermia. But in November of 2011, the case was reopened after Davern publicly stated he had lied to the police during the initial investigation. According to him, Wagner and Wood had indeed had an argument on that evening. He also alleged that Wood had been flirtatious with Walken, leaving Wagner enraged and jealous. After Wood went missing, Davern claims Wagner prevented him from turning on the ship's searchlights and notifying local authorities. As such, Davern believes Wagner was solely responsible for Wood's death. In 2012, the death was reclassified as a drowning with other undetermined factors. In 2013, new details came to light that implied Wood may have sustained some of the bruises to her body before she drowned in the water. In 2018, the LA County Sheriff's Department named Wagner a person of interest in the investigation of Natalie Wood's death, but he has since maintained his innocence. Yasmine Bleeth. Yasmine Bleeth is best known for her roles as Caroline Holden on Baywatch, Ryan Finelli on Ryan's Hope, and Leanne Demarest on One Life to Live. In December 2000, Yasmine checked herself into the Malibu-based Promises Rehab Clinic to get clean from a cocaine addiction. In September of 2001, she was arrested in Romulus, Michigan, after she drove her vehicle off the highway into a median on I-94 on her way to Detroit. While no one was injured in the accident, law enforcement found narcotics and paraphernalia in her vehicle. The following day, police searched her hotel room, where they found even more drugs and paraphernalia. In November of 2001, she accepted a plea bargain that reduced her charges to possession of fewer than 25 grams of cocaine and driving while impaired. She was sentenced a few months later to 2 years of probation and 100 hours of community service. In 2004, her record was cleared after completing the terms of her probation. Todd Bridges. Best known for his role as Willis Jackson on Diff'rent Strokes, Bridges has spent a large chunk of his adult life battling addictions to crack cocaine and methamphetamine. In 1989, Bridges was arrested and tried for the attempted murder of Kenneth Tex Clay, a local drug dealer in L.A., who, according to prosecutors, Bridges shot. He pled not guilty to the charges, while his attorney, Johnny Cochran, argued his client was an abused minor who had been driven by his drug use and the exploitative entertainment industry. He also asserted Bridges had been unfairly framed for the crime. After a witness finally came forward and testified that Bridges was not present at the time of the shooting, all charges were dropped. Fortunately, Bridges gave up drugs on February 24, 1993, after years of abuse. Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby's best known for his role as Dr. Cliff Huxtable on The Cosby Show. In 2014, he was accused by many women of sexual assault. In 2018, he was convicted of aggravated indecent assault against Andrea Constand. He was sent to prison and was expected to spend the rest of his life behind bars, but in 2021, his conviction was vacated by the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, who determined his 5th and 14th Amendment rights were violated during his trial. Danny Trejo. Best known for his roles in films like Heat, Con Air, and Bubble Boy, and in Breaking Bad, The X-Files, and What We Do in the Shadows, Trejo's career would never have gotten off the ground if he had continued down the path laid out for him as a child. When he was 12, he witnessed his uncle shooting heroin. After threatening to snitch on him if he didn't share, Trejo got his first fix. From that point onward, Trejo joined forces with his uncle as they committed a series of armed robberies. After spending multiple stints in prison for crimes like burglary and assault, he found himself in serious legal trouble after he sold 4 ounces of fake heroin to an undercover Fed. He was shipped off to San Quentin State Prison. While there, he hit a guard with a rock during a prison riot and was placed in solitary confinement. He would likely have received a death sentence for his combined crimes, especially since the prison guard he hit nearly died of his injuries, but miraculously his charges got dropped on a technicality since there were no witnesses to the assault. He was released on parole at age 25 in 1969. He turned his life around and began working with teenage drug addicts. Today he has over 350 film and TV credits to his name. Now it's time to hear from you. Which celebrity were you most surprised to hear about? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.